Path of Exile's 3.10 Delirium League is just a few days away, and you're probably trying to figure out what build to play. Will minions be nerfed into the ground? Can my Lightning Warp totems finally be buffed? In my third and final build guide on the speculative starters of Delirium League, I am introducing POPSICLE Pupper, a Freezing Pulse Totems Hierophant. Welcome, it's your friendly neighbourhood Badger here, and I am back with the final speculative starter, a righteous and regal Hierophant, who prefers his spell totems to do the dirty work for him as he sits back and examines his surroundings. With a much higher effective health pool than my last two build guides in this series, POPSICLE Pupper is designed for those who prefer sacrificing a slight amount of clear for a much safer bossing experience. Look at me run circles around the trio here. Like all my starter guides, what I showcase in this build guide are very budget options, but the builds can scale immensely with a small amount of investment. Disclaimer, this guide and my previous guide will be updated in the description if anything drastic changes when the 3.10 patch notes come out, so definitely come back and check when that happens. But I have chosen starter builds for the Delirium League that are almost immune to nerfs, so no need to worry. Though we are playing a Hierophant with good mana, I've decided to steer clear of the new mana abilities because we don't really know the values or anything like that of them yet. However, there are a few empty links, as you will see later, that we can switch things around once the league comes out if those new mana skills end up being really good. What you see below is an apex of sacrifice on this character, completing it with absolute ease on a very tight budget and very low level gems. This build can be built in a few different ways, but the most popular way is self-cursing with a Soul Mantle and Kikazaru rings, but I'll explain that in the gear and links section. As always, there's a handy colour guide below for your easy jumping between sections in this short guide. I give this budget starter build a 3.5 out of 5 stars for clear, a 4.5 out of 5 stars for bossing, and a 4.5 out of 5 stars for survivability. We will start this build guide off with the main skill, which is Freezing Pulse. Being a totem build, our Freezing Pulse needs to be linked with Spell Totem. First of all, at the very beginning of the league, you either want to get your hands on a Tabula Rasa for a good 6 link, or a 5 link with good life and resistances. If opting for this route, you are looking at linking your Freezing Pulse with Spell Totem, then with Controlled Destruction, Cold Penetration, and Hypothermia. If opting for a 6th link, you are looking at socketing Faster Casting. However, as stated before, the biggest buff for this build is Soul Mantle. Soul Mantle comes with a couple of upsides and one downside. First of all, we can place one extra totem. Secondly, Spell Totem support is already in the item of Soul Mantle, meaning we can remove that link from our main links and include increased critical damage. As stated, there is a downside to this chess piece, meaning that every time one of your totems dies, you get cursed with a random curse. Your totems dying also counts when they get desummoned by placing a new totem, so keep this in mind. You will also have lots of curses on you. This can be mostly mitigated with 2 Kikazaru rings, which each reduce curse effectiveness on you by 40%. This is meaning these curses are only applying at 20% of their main value. To turn a strange self-cursing situation into a good situation, we are using the Self-Flagellation Jewel. Self-Flagellation is a corrupted jewel that can only be obtained either through trading or through corrupting unique jewels and randomly hitting it. This gives anywhere from 10% to 20% increased damage per curse on you, which while mapping and bossing can be anywhere from 6 to 10 curses. With our weapons, I opt for a wand and shield, and on those items you can look for any of these stats in no particular order. Percent cold damage, critical strike chance for spells, critical strike multiplier for spells, added cold damage to spells, spell damage, cast speed, mana, and projectile speed. For the shield, you can also look for life, or if you're opting for a more damage route, dual wielding wands is quite handy. In our main hand and offhand, we have 2 cast while damage taken setups. In the first setup, we have cast when damage taken level 11, linked with steel skin level 16, and summon lightning golem level 13. In our second cast while damage taken setup, we have a level 1 cast while damage taken, linked with a level 7 cold snap, then supported by bone chill. For our boots, gloves, and helmet, we are just looking at cheap, rare items at the start of the league, focusing firstly on life and resistances, and then adding mana and energy shield if we have the budget afterwards. For your boots, you want at least 25% movement speed so you can scurry around maps quickly. In our first 4 link, we want to set up our Frost Bomb, which includes Frost Bomb, a level 7 Arcane Surge, Spell Cascade, and increased duration. In our second 4 link, we put our Vile Righteous Fire, Projectile Weakness, Flame Dash, and then increased duration, to buff the duration on all 3 of these skills. In our last 4 link, we actually have quite a bit of room. Right now I've just got Hatred linked to an Enlighten, but you can put whatever else here that you would like to. It's up to you, even another cast when damage taken setup, or a portal gem. For our belt and our amulet, we are just looking at capping our resistances above 75% and looking for good life. After that, you can look at getting some better mana for Mind Over Matter, and on your amulet you can even look for some critical strike chance or critical strike multiplier. The passive skill tree for the Popsicle Pupper is as follows. As you may or may not already know, we are playing a Hierophant, and the ascendancy choices are as follows here. First of all, at level 35 to 40, we want to be taking the normal Labyrinth and getting our first ascendancy point of Pursuit of Faith. This is giving us an extra totem, meaning we will be switching from our leveling process of using Stormbrand into our Freezing Pulse totems. We then move on to collecting our Divine Guidance for just great mana for the clearing process in the leveling process. Transfiguration of Mind is going to give us good damage as well. Thirdly, we will be looking at Ritual of Awakening for our Merciless Lab for more totem buffs. And lastly, we will be finishing with Conviction of Power for both Power Charge and Endurance Charge generation. We will now zoom out to the full tree for the Popsicle Pupper. As you can see, we branch all the way from the Templar area, through the Witch area, and into the Shadow area to finish. Like always, I do have the finished build guide in a no cluster version, meaning we have full points, and we also have a cluster jewel version, meaning we take some points away for easy branching with the new cluster jewels if you want to experiment around. And we also have leveling points all through here, 10 points each leveling process. In a moment, we are going to be moving to the leveling process itself, a very quick overview, which we'll be talking about Stormbrand. But lastly, I would just like to mention we are using a third layer of defense other than our energy shield and life, which is Mind Over Matter. For those of you who might not know what Mind Over Matter is, most of you might, but this is just an extra defense where you stack a lot of mana and then 30% of damage is taken as mana before life. Meaning if you have, 2,000 mana, that is pretty much effective health on top of your life, if you have enough life buffer. That's pretty much it for the passive skill tree. As you watch Popsicle Pupper run a map in the background, it's time for me to quickly talk about the leveling process. As stated in the passive skill tree section, you will be leveling with Stormbrand until around level 35 to 40, but make sure you pick up Freezing Pulse at level 1 and Spell Totem a little later to level up in an open slot, so when the changeover to totems happens, you won't be stuck with a low level gem. You're looking for supports such as added cold damage and controlled destruction, but pretty much anything that will buff your spell damage while leveling in a 3 link or 4 link, as well as Brand Recall to help your clear. For spellcasters, the best tip I can give you while leveling is the Magic Wand recipe. If you combine a magic or rare resistance ring with a magic wand and an orb of alteration by selling them all to a vendor in town, you will receive a high added damage to spells wand. It's best to use a sapphire or topaz ring, as cold and lightning damage is the best for this build. And that's it for this build guide. I'll just leave you with the rest of this map. Oh yeah, nice. Just running into packs, probably should not be doing that. Nice. Where's the old boss room for this place? Where is it? I can't find it anywhere. I completely miss it over here. I think I did. Nice. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. This was the Popsicle Puppa video, and that is it for my 3 build guides for the Delirium League. Now, definitely check the Pastebins down below with them all, especially I will be updating them if anything drastic changes when the patch notes come out. But this is the end of the video, and it's time to announce my lovely, lovely patrons. So I'm just going to go through them here, and they're just going to be right over here. So we have Airy, Dinges XL, Dragon Roar, Frogurt, John Martin, Matthias Gothe, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, Crackalakins, Miko Cosm, Nick Trumbull, and Pavel Timel. Thank you so much all for your lovely patronage. I really appreciate it. If anyone else wants to join the Little Badger family, there is a link down below to my Patreon, and it would be awesome if you also hit subscribe if you really like my build videos, and if you want to get notified, that little bell is pretty helpful. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm extremely excited for Delirium League, and there's going to be much more content coming out in the near future. I'll catch you guys all around. Until next time, Badger out.